Hello, Sussex squads. Oh my goodness. How are you guys doing, Sussex squad, Sussex world,
I think you picked the
Sussex
noisiest. I think you
nation?
picked the noisiest blanket to put on your.
I do.
Yeah.
It's really cold in the studio right here. It's so cold. Oh my goodness. Season 2 start before season first
Is it even done?
It-
Yeah.
even done yet. What do we have here?
Yeah.
We know always going to be a winner. We know that. I mean, this is how we do it.
It is no surprise.
It's no surprise. It's just going back home, going back to your cook, what is your comfort food, so to speak.
Going back to your roots.
Yeah,
Who you are?
that's right. So, how's my co-host Joanne? I heard my girl is in there. Susie Q, as you heard, Connie
Bomber.
Bomber. Yes, I love Connie. I love the name.
And we got Lakiva McGee. Hello, and Emma D and Jan
Oh,
MK.
Maddie, yes.
Yeah, we got the squad.
Oh my goodness.
We're keeping everyone guessing though. These last few weeks, it's been like 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. starts. Now we got a 5 p.m.er.
Well, we've been pretty busy, and sort of I stay in the books.
keeping everyone on their toes.
Yep. So how are you guys doing?
Good. It's like I think we may have said this last time, but even more so this Sunday that there's actually some signs of warm weather, of spring, of a break in this long winter.
Right.
It's very exciting.
It did snow today.
It did snow, but it's also like a double-edged sword because when there's that much work to do and then the weather starts getting nicer outside, it's kind of a push and pull thing.
Right. Funny things that happened last night. I was working, doing my thing, and also listening to Royal Sussex. And it was 3 o'clock in the morning. He's like, how did it get to be 3 o'clock in the morning? And I didn't realize it was daylight saving
Yeah.
today. So it was like,
I had no idea.
Yep.
I
Not
literally
either.
still I have not even paid
Until
any
he
attention.
mentioned it last night, because it almost like it was 1. The next minute it was 3 o'clock in the
Yep.
morning.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Spring forward.
Yeah.
But how
There
are
you
you,
go.
Lady Sussex?
Well, Joy, I just so happy for my girl for the Duchess of Sussex. I love the fact that, to see her in her elements, to see her friends rally around her. And it's everything I come to, believe what friendship should be, needs to be. And in some way, I feel like it's like the Sussex squad, so to speak. Even though they're far away and we are a different place, that I feel that connection, I feel that support. And so to see the kind of support that she have around her, it was incredible. And I want that for her because knowing what she's been through and still going through the last whatever, how many years now, she's gone. And, what most people didn't realize or didn't know, that she's actually the Queen of England. You know what I mean? Yes. Well, they say she was going to actually modernize the royal family. I think she successfully have done that. And we're going to get into all that because there's no other way to explain the phenomenon of what is going on that, really, we need to own that title. Far, far away in Montecito, she's actually controlling things over there and, people are following stuff and following what she's doing and everything else. So, yes, so she's, we're going to get into all of it. So let's get into our girls, Hello, Charles. Wake
No,
up.
you said get into our girl. I wasn't sure which girl you're talking about.
else?
Church Nellie?
That's right.
Moonshine.
Yeah, speaking of which, I miss Church Nellie. She hasn't been
Well, at
She's
least I
been
know
around
that
these
she's
days.
okay because, she's been on a while Sussex, sort
Yeah,
of a
it's
few
true.
times,
Mhm.
starting trouble. So, yes. So,
She's always starting
She's
trouble.
waiting on the wig fund.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think that's what it is.
Definitely.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah, so jumping into Church Nellie as it is. So first of all, of course, the big news you've already said, but obviously, With Love, Megan got renewed for the second season already.
Oh my God.
So it's
Could
within
you
like
give a
3
round of
days.
applause, please? A
Yes,
round of
I can.
applause in
Hold
3
on, I
days.
can do
Come
that.
on.
I can do that. I can do that.
Let's give it up.
Go, Megan.
There you go.
Yes.
So, actually, I will do that still. So yeah. So it's already done its thing in like 3 days after it aired. So that's fantastic. It will. The second season will actually air near the end of this year, like sometime around fall. So it has made the
Can't
top
wait.
10 list in over 50 countries around the world, and people are still
Oh
talking
my
trash
goodness.
about it, which is kind of crazy.
To be honest, I
mean,
don't.
it's expected,
Yes.
honestly.
Well, that is expected, but I will talk about it. There is something behind all of this. You know what I mean? It's no longer sort of they're just talking. This is like, okay, we're running scared, and we are a fan, and we don't know what to do.
Right. So I think that Claire Kane actually said it very well. She said the combination of media sources providing misleading information in bad faith combined with media literacy really has people believing things that can be easily disproven.
I know.
Which
We're
is
gonna
very,
get into
very,
it.
very
We're
true.
gonna get into it.
So yeah, and currently, at least in the United States as it is, the show is actually ranked 6th on Netflix.
Can you sort of, because I know there's all these numbers that people been say the amount of shows, Netflix have, and that platform, and for her to be top 4, what that actually meant,
She's
even if it was top 10,
top
it
10.
is incredible.
No, I mean it's a very, very. I
There
mean it's
must be like
it's significant.
thousands of sort of it's incredible.
No, it is definitely incredible. Now, Netflix is notoriously cagey on statistics. So to be able to say, okay, well, how many people actually watched it, I can't find that in 2 seconds.
Not to how many people watch it. I'm talking about the amount of shows.
Oh yeah, so even less so. Like trying to actually dig all that stuff
I
up.
don't think you get it.
No, the total number of shows on Netflix.
Correct.
And they are number 6 out of all those shows.
Yes.
No, I know what
because
you're
out of
asking.
100 of
Yeah, no, it's
thousands or
hundreds and
whatever.
hundreds of shows for sure.
Well, I don't know if this is. Don't take my word for it. But when you put it into Google, you get at least someone on one of the social media sites citing some stats saying the total titles exceeds 6,600 between movies, series, and specials.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
top
Yeah.
10 of over 6,600
There you go.
Well, I think it's more than that. I don't think that is the correct number.
for the library. Yeah.
That is.
Well, that's probably
that
only
was
in that particular
years-
region.
Years ago.
Well, no, it's
Yeah.
also probably, it doesn't account a worldwide audience
Correct.
either. So anyway, point being, it's done great. But she also launched more than just a show. She actually launched, her website is up and doing its thing.
Yes.
So interesting. There's actually not a whole bunch on it as of right yet, but it actually does have a very nice kind of entry phrase for you. So what it says is that as ever is more than a brand, it is a love language. Created by Megan, Duchess of Sussex, as ever welcomes you to a collection of products, each inspired by her long-lasting love of cooking, entertaining, and hostessing with ease. This curated collection has been crafted to elevate your everyday and inspire moments of joy.
This is the best time to actually to launch, a product like this. Even the stuff that she used in the show, it's going to be incredible, especially for people getting married. You know what I mean? This season. You know what I mean? We getting into marriage season, right? So where you buying gift and sort of, what do you call those things that where you have to buy gift? Not
The registries.
registry.
Yeah.
This is going to be incredible, and just the name itself felt very novel, very romantic, very like sort of as ever. You know what I mean? It just, there's something beautiful, simple, elegant to it. So I could see friends, family, or people that were getting married, and this could play a part of their registry.
For
It's so beautiful, so romantic.
Well, and it's also like, I mean, honestly, there's just a few products on there now. So right now they have raspberry preserves, they have some wildflower honey, some flower sprinkles, which I guess is just chopped up flowers.
Oh
sure.
my God.
Various teas, some crepe mix, and as well as shortbread cookies.
Well, you know what I'm looking forward to,
So.
too, right? I'm hoping that, you know what, that come out before my birthday, where all the roses are out. The few roses bushes that I have, because I love roses, you know that. So I could have like a, sort of a romantic morning,
A love language morning
a love
filled
language
with
morning,
filled with jam.
full with jam,
Filled with jam.
scone. Because what is, you guys know what my favorite thing I like to have,
Yes, you
my
gave the
birthday
answer
morning.
away before you answered the question.
What is it that I like
You
to
already
have?
said.
There's crepe, which I love crepes. You
Scones.
guys know that.
Scones,
Scones.
yeah.
And then jam. Everything she have in the list. Now, the only problem that I have, I think I need to bring back those piggy bank to collect start connected money, because really right now, you know what I mean, higher education costs a lot of money.
Well, not only does it cost a lot of money, but everything.
I
it's
don't
like
have the cash right now.
to move, also just to have the cash and then to move quick on it because it's gonna sell out.
I know that's the problem. I'm telling you, I already sort of, I find this piggy bank, there's a few sort of, dimes and things in there. I just need to see, but I would love for you guys to start. I'm going to ask people to start donating for the fun of
The as
it.
ever piggy bank.
I mean, it costs, higher education is no joke, and especially what I'm trying to achieve. Hopefully, all paid off. Otherwise, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life.
But actually, funny enough, Susie Q mentioned that the black dress that Megan was wearing on the beach,
Yes.
that's also already sold out.
Of course it is. In a way, I'm so happy because I don't have the money. So if I
There's no
did,
rush. It's
you know
not
what I mean?
happening.
So whenever I heard sold out, I'm like, oh, that's my excuse, of course. Well, I couldn't get it because it's sold out.
There you go.
Yep. But hopefully, I need to create a fund, and I hope
It'll go
start
right next
making
to
some phone calls.
the Church Nelly Wig Fund. It'll be
Yeah.
the Lady
I
Sussex
mean,
has
you
everything.
think I'm joking. I'm seriously. I mean, higher education is no joke. You guys know that. You know how much money that goes into research and doing the things that, we try to achieve.
Oh yeah.
And,
Oh yeah.
and with the hope one day we'll be successful.
That's the truth.
There we go.
And as a matter of fact, as soon as we're done with the show, we have a very long night ahead of us.
It is
So go ahead.
So also during the course of the week, Megan, and promoting her show, she appeared on the Drew Barrymore show.
Yes, that was incredible.
Yeah, the show aired on March 6th. So if you
Yes.
missed it, you can go check it out on replay. And obviously, she was there to promote her show. She also talked a little bit about her hubby as well as the kids, and made sure to emphasize the fact that her preferred surname is actually Sussex, which
And
obviously
as it should be,
Yes.
as it should be, and we
which
are going
calling
to
out
get in.
a viral moment, which actually was on the show. So
Right.
and also, funny enough, Yasmin Page actually also mentioned the same thing in our chat now. So just making sure that everybody is aware that she does prefer to call her
Actually,
surname to be Sussex.
You know what?
Which you
I
should.
couldn't wait for something like that to happen. Even though very often that we call her by her last name, but
Her
we
maiden
maiden name, and we sort of always make sure that we see Duke and Duchess of Sussex. However, it could not have been a better time really for her to actually sort of make that announcement, and so people can start sort of address her by that name. And we're going to talk about why is that so important and why we need that to happen. And of course, it's going to take, time for many of us. We're probably going to make mistakes here and there.
Definitely.
But eventually, that it will be what it is. So
The problem is it was a name that gained so much acclaim, international renown, and the alliteration on top of it. It's going to take a.
But I also think this, as well as the Sussex as well too. I think the Sussex is massive. To be honest, and I'm not just being mean or sort of rude when I say that. If you were to ask me what is beside the Wells, just because I'm associated for a long time, King Charles was Prince of Wales, and so do, our wonderful, beautiful, the only one, sort of Princess of Heart, Diana. She was the real Princess of Wales, and I remember that. But the rest of them, the other royals, like, they have titles which they use as their surname. I don't know them, but Sussex,
It's true.
you know what I mean?
It's different.
It's not only different, it gets as much publicity, I will say, as her, past maiden name.
Yeah, it's true. True.
So
Definitely,
I think
if
it's
not
going
more.
to be fine. And I think they have a problem with it, but they don't know what to do. And I have a feeling, and for me personally, her letting go, her old maiden name could not have been the best thing for her, and I will explain why.
And also do it explicitly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Go ahead.
So, and then also finally for our little news section here is something which is, we'll just call it interesting is probably the best way to do it, which is Charles decided to put out a playlist on Apple Music. And, they made a big deal, I have to say. The press and PR around this guy just simply putting out a playlist was everywhere, literally everywhere. If you had any kind of news outlet, you basically having this guy run your story. It was interesting because there was a lot of artists who you would not think was actually on the list. It was actually, and this actually makes a little bit more sense for me now. The playlist was actually announced on Friday and to honor the Commonwealth Day and the celebrations therein, which actually is going to commence next week. And this holiday is actually designed to celebrate and honor the unity of more than 50 independent countries within the Commonwealth.
We should give this a round of applause because you know what I called this? I called it the Meghan Sussex effect. That's what created this. So let's give it a round of applause. Yes. This is the effect. And this is why I said, our girl, literally, because that's something that they used to say, right before she got married. Oh my God, how this biracial woman going to modernize the royal family. She actually done that. The idea that, King Charles, which most people know that, if I think of King Charles, I think of classical music because he loved classical music and he have helped both girls when they were getting married with music selection and everything. I don't think of King Charles, with, listening to the simplest, which we listen here, especially when it comes to Afrobeat. I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure that what I don't know because in order to listen to Afrobeat, you're gonna need to shake it. You can't listen to Afrobeat, and I just don't see King Charles and that woman, that woman that wear the tiara, the one that wear the tiara that belonged to Queen Elizabeth, that woman. Yes. By the way, side part, it seems like that woman is banned, the Princess of Wales from wearing any more tiara because, the incident that have happened, during the coronation, she was not supposed to be wearing any type of tiara and she wore this, whatever that was that she had in her head, and they were late. And since then, we have not seen her wearing any type of tiara. I mean, we're talking about she is Princess of Wales. And there is, I don't really get it. So I think she's been banned by that woman from ever wearing a tiara ever again. I don't know. That's just my assumption because something really weird. But to get back to King Charles, could you imagine?
Vera Sao said, yes, King Charles, the DJ King. I'm so embarrassed.
So I just want to see King Charles shaking it because, this is
I don't want to see King Charles shaking. I
well,
really don't.
I don't know. I don't know. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, I'm sure that woman show him a few things of not, sort of, who knows?
Who
I
knows?
don't know. I don't know how she become queen, but, she must been doing something.
She definitely got something right. So, but just to tie a quick knot around this whole thing. So it was recorded by the King's office in Buckingham Palace.
I
So
see.
there you go.
I mean, I don't know if anyone listening to Dr. God, what is her name again? Oh, my God.
Shola?
Yes. I will highly recommend it to actually, listening to Dr. Shola, from, while Sussex played it. It was too funny, and she was right in the money. But, yeah.
But I think you might need to explain that idea you brought up a little more, because we were talking about it before the service started, and it's an important one, because a lot of the co-hosts, everyone's like, they're just almost angry about the fact that they continue to copy Harry and Meghan. But you have almost another sort of interpretation of what you said, the Meghan Sussex effect.
Well, as I said again, sort of is this idea that, the effect, it's will. And I think very early on, they were complaining about 5 a.m. call, and now they're literally running. You know what I mean? They are literally running every time because they don't know anything the Sussexes are doing. So each time they put something out there, it's literally forced them, out of their cocoon, try to figure it all out. All of a sudden that, we saw, Kate, sort of talking about jam, and she's giving it free to, the other brother, what's his name again? The husband of Kate.
William,
sort of, I mean, speaking well, she, it's been how long we've been asking him that he needed to do something that he was in the kitchen. It's a mess. And now we hear King Charles have his own show talking about joy, which is, our word. I mean, we want to share that. I hope that he find joy. I hope, he got joy in his life. Now, I don't know about with that woman, I'm a judge there or there, but, just to be nice and be kind, that this is the effect of this incredible woman that who have gone for how long, like 5 years now? And she's actually not only helping the economy there, especially when it comes to the media, but she's actually putting those folks to work. It's forcing them to work because until, what have they been doing?
Yeah, you can't imagine King Charles doing either of those things, a new show or even putting out a playlist that celebrates music from different parts of the Commonwealth if it weren't for Meghan.
Well, let me say this. When it comes to King Charles, I think that, again, I would not say that, he's a lazy person. I would not go as far as say that he doesn't work. But the problem is he's not getting the press in the media. And somehow I do think that, that woman have like an effect on this man to a point that where he's not being seen. And then furthermore, that I thought, I was concerned much more about the other two royals, Kate and the brother, what's his name again? William, but it seems like now King Charles realized that, he needs to get into the action because like I've not heard anything that King Charles is doing or anything what he's doing as a king. So it's not just now the association with black music and black culture, which is great to see. But you know what? What happened to your grandchildren? What about, sort of congratulation to your, daughter-in-law that you walk down the aisle? That's probably would have been more effective than putting out a playlist, let us know that, you listen to black music. What does that supposed to do? I'm not one to just constantly, criticizing these people. I don't know them. I don't want to really much talk about them, so to speak. But if you're going to put things like that out there, then I have the right to my, opinion. And my opinion is that, you know what, regardless what's going on, regardless the contract that is happening, it would have been nice that, you know what, if King Charles had come on in that speech that he was giving, say that either he was inspired by the incredible list of music that his daughter-in-law was playing, to the joy that, you know what, she brought to many people, to just kind of like inspire him, and congratulations to my daughter-in-law, that would have gone a long way. That would, again, this is another lost opportunity. You know how often we saying that, you know what, they keep missing the mark all the time? Could you imagine the kind of news, the kind of sort of, you know, how far this would have gone around the world? Because as far as I'm concerned, they lost the battle. When you start arguing about food, when you start, you know, making bad comment about cooking food, something that, you know what, again, it is for us. We are true to this. We are the blueprint that bring not just culture when it comes to food, spice, everything else. We feed our ancestors, feed you guys, teach you guys recipes in things that, you know, have becoming sort of, you know, inspire. And we inspire the world. So it's not like she's doing anything that is not true to us. If anything, everybody copy what we do. You see what I'm saying? So again, I feel like why King Charles, why the royal family, whoever is sort of advising them, keep making them missing the mark, because have he have done something that would have been so unexpected, regardless what's going on with that relationship, would have traveled around the world and would have made him look so good, and would have there's so much that could have come out that would have been so positive for him. Again, that is a missed opportunity. Instead, he found himself that people either are making fun or sort of, you know, ridicule him, or just looking at him with side eye and just like, you know, I just don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, doing all that work for nothing. You know, in the Megan Sussex, it's actually sort of making those folks running like, you know, like chicken without head, like they would say.
Nobody says it like that. Chicken with the head cut off.
Is that how you say it? I'm trying to learn all these things. But anyway, let's move on with the show. You see, that's how we end up with 3-hour shows.
That's true.
That's definitely true. So the next, that's it for the news. So jumping into the Connie Bomber community update. What's up,
Yes.
Connie?
And also, let me say quick something. I would love the co-host to chat a little bit more with us and not letting me only go into a tantrum all the time. It would be nice to hear, you know, where their minds are. Help me, educate me a little bit more, because, whoop. Okay.
You hear that? Everyone, you're being put to work.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
They are the
True
co-hosts.
keep
They are the co-hosts. I
Yeah.
need their participation.
Yeah, keep us in line.
That's right.
So first and foremost, happy International Women's Day,
Yeah.
everybody.
Yes.
That's right. So
Yes.
it was yesterday on March 8th was the official day. And actually the campaign theme for this year is actually Accelerate Action. So it's basically is about focusing on the need to accelerate action that emphasizes the importance of taking swift and decisive steps to achieve gender equality. And it calls for an increased momentum and urgency in addressing the systemic barriers and the biases that women face, both personal as well as professional.
Yes. And I am thinking of the president of Mexico. I am thinking of the vice president of Colombia, and so many incredible women that are doing incredible work, and as well as our past vice president So those are the women. There's so many women
There's
that
so
you
many
know what
women.
I look up to, and I find strength from. So yeah,
For sure, for sure. And then
and
also,
especially all the women in Sussex Squad, because we have like pretty much an international, you know, women squads. That's a part of the Sussex Squad. So
absolutely,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, we are intercontinental up here for sure.
that's right. That's right.
So, and definitely appreciate everyone. And then next, actually, is some prayers for healing for two people, actually, Lady D,
Mm-hmm.
and as well as Claire McCatskill.
Yes, I was listening to World Sussex early in the week. I think he was mentioning Lady D. Yes, she was. I think she was on and she was asking for people to pray. So,
Yeah, so we definitely need to just keep, this entire community in our minds and
That's
in our
right.
hearts. And I know that you guys, they call us family. I mean, the first thing that, the first comment actually, as we jumped in here today, it was someone saying, "Hi, family."
Yeah,
So
that's what
we
it
certainly
feels
keep
like.
that, yeah, and we
That's what
certainly
it
want
feels.
to, we certainly share that sentiment, and then also at the same time want to radiate that around
That's
to
right.
everyone else as well,
I
because
think
it's important for everyone to keep in touch and then to check on people.
I think that's what makes the show so resonating, and just to see the amount of love that we ourselves already share, from far away, and then to see her and her elements, and to see, how her friends, just around her, and almost like hugging her, so to speak. And it just feel good. It just like, I feel like in some ways that she is safe.
Yeah.
You
That's
know
true.
what I mean? She is safe. And I think, what I take from the show, because of course, this is, uh, you have to look at the show several times to actually, because each time you pick up something very different. The first time that I watched all the 8 episodes, ask me why I don't, how I do that, I don't know, but I did because I was so excited about it. It was very emotional for me because it was not just sort of seeing her actually doing her thing, how inspired that is. See, I know really where she come from, and but how her friends, I think many times they try to go there with her and to mention things or say little, key phrase, which I'm sure all the Sussex squads get. Even to the lady, the Asian lady, when she talks about, a working vase and things like that, how there is beauty, on that and everything. There's purpose, there's reason. That was extremely emotional. I was just like tearing up because you guys know that I have like a T-shirt that I always wear around the summer where say there is beauty and everything, and so I feel so connected with those words. And right now, it could not have come a better time because so much around us feel broken, so much around us feel like we are discouraged, and even see the amount of hate going towards her, how the whole system feel broken, but yet finding the beauty that that who is Megan Sussex and Harry and the Sussex wives and other people, to find that beauty in that, and knowing that one day it all will be okay and it's going to be a learning lesson. So it was quite inspiring.
It's true.
Before we getting into the food, yeah.
Excellent. Well, that's what I got for Connie, unless there's some extra, because sometimes there is. Sometimes there's.
Drum roll. I think we
Well,
are
there
going.
was the TV show, right? Because Megan's been everywhere.
What TV show?
The
Drew Barrymore?
yeah.
Yes, he did
said that
mention
already.
Oh, you
that.
said that already?
He says that already.
No, I was,
Where were
I
you?
was thinking
That's
about
how you
I
need
was
to
thinking about
sleep.
I was thinking about the flowers in the ice. That's what I was thinking about.
Oh my
Flowers.
goodness.
Oh, flowers in the ice.
Yeah,
Yes.
the decorative flowers.
Yes.
Well, then I think before we start the service, we do have to say thank you, as always. Thank you to everyone who is here, all of our co-hosts who are in the chat, and the family that is in the chat specifically. Thank you for joining us again, yet another Sunday. We actually just were noticing that we passed our 4th anniversary.
I know. That's incredible.
Maybe a week
I think
ago.
you mentioned that to me. You was
Yeah.
like, "Do you know what today is?" Like, I'm like, "What?" It's
true.
been 4 years since we're actually doing this. Oh my gosh.
So thank you for everyone who has stuck with us, especially those that joined us in the very beginning when we
Very
had
the
no
beginning.
idea, even though we still have no idea what we're doing, but we have slightly more now.
We
But-
don't.
Yeah, we have a semblance of an idea of what we're doing now.
Yes.
But with that, also, as always, a very, very special thank you to each of our members who really make the show possible. And that is Patrick Hoa, Marcel, R.R. Carter, V. Brame, Antonio TC416, Church Nelly Black Queen, Kate Castillo, Eve Balmer, Sylvia Fielder, and Connie Balmer, V. Thomas, Lady Rose Sussex, Bryce Thompson, Royal Sussex, the one and only, Lydia Washington.
That is all his fault. That is all his fault that we are here.
It's true.
That is all his fault. I mean, I'm telling you, that moment is ingrained in my head forever. That Valentine day that I have no idea this man even was aware. Like, how the heck he even know we exist to even wanted to talk about us. I remember that one because I had my mother and I was like getting an afternoon nap and then wake up to, I think it was you or somebody's like, something is happening. What is going on? And like, it was shocking to hear him like, just pushing. It was just like, it's just ingrained in my, so
Yeah.
it's his fault.
Thank you, Baron.
Thank you so much.
And Lydia Washington, Connie and Julie, Angela White, Chef Sandy Love, speaking of food, Chef Sandy Love, Dawn Robinson Gales, Diane Hawkins, Ingrid Soares, avid reader, Marvel Walker, and April Showers, who actually rejoined just now.
Amen. Yes, thank you so much because I'm telling you guys, I need some type of fun because your girls right now, if you guys see the bills, the school bills, everything else, the research and everything, it's like, it's a lot.
So is the trill like a drum roll or is the trill like something else?
It's a
I don't
Usually
know.
kind of all
It's-
over the place.
No, it's me that I don't want to cry to know that,
what it is?
I could have been out there making money instead of paying money for to study more.
Well, it's all for a good cause.
I think all of us here are crazy.
Yeah.
We literally, I think that
That's without a doubt.
I don't understand how we do it and why we do it sometimes. But the hope is that we'll come on the other side.
That's the truth. So with that, we will finally kick off service. I don't know. It's actually not too bad. 39 minutes in, kicking off service formally.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll do that reminding everyone that we're not experts, nor do we claim to be, and encourage everyone, especially in today's information age, to get their info from multiple different sources, to fact check us, and also, as Lady Sussex mentioned, please contribute as co-hosts in the chat as
One
well.
day, a few years from now, we probably will be able to have the title calling ourselves somewhat of
That'll
an
be you.
expert,
I know,
but
that'll
not
be you.
now.
Yeah, that'll be you.
Oh, not me.
And
Yeah,
then,
right.
and in addition to not being experts, even though this is a church service, we're not trying to convince anyone to change their beliefs.
That's right.
We're not evangelical in that sense, but we are here to support people that we believe are doing good work to make the world a better place, and specifically Prince Harry and Meghan, Sussex.
And everything we say here, it's alleged. Don't take anything we say so seriously. Do your own research and find out what the truth is in many sources, not just one places. But we're here to celebrate joy, love, and because love wins. So
And actually, speaking of the gratitude that we were just talking about, thank you, Susie Q, for reminding us to ask for thumbs up and likes.
oh, that's
and
right.
shares
Thumbs
with us.
up, thumbs up, thumbs up. You see, I told you we are so bad with this. I hope we don't embarrass Royal Sussex. I swear, it's like, what is wrong with these people? Go ahead.
So with
Okay,
that,
so thank
we'll-
you so much for the reminder.
Yes, thank you, Susie. We'll kick off service.
That's right. yes. Well, we're going to do things slightly a little bit different. Last week, as we were closing the show, I played this piece by this really wonderful um, lady, from TikTok. And it was so incredible. And I think we need to revisit that. And you guys will understand why is that you know what, I wanted to play that as a reminder to all of us for this moment in particularly that we know we find ourselves in. So let's play. Do you? Yes.
Just give me a well.
Yeah, because it is really so important, because what she say in that clip, it was so correct, so right. And it's what I've seen our Duchess is doing. This is the moment that we are all entering, or at least we need to take note, whether it's in our lives, whether it's just what we do, stand up in the front line, try to protect two amazing leaders that, we feel like brought so much joy into this world, at least in my life anyway. I just wish things was not the same, but I think we are entering that phase, and they understand that, they get that, and I hope we get that. So let's play that clip.
Everyone can go with you where you're going. If you find yourself losing people, shedding situations, shedding jobs, shedding things that you maybe felt a false sense of security in, it's because you cannot carry that baggage into this next phase of your life. Before I moved to Los Angeles many years ago, I was actually supposed to move to New York with someone whom I considered a best friend of mine at the time. We made these big, grand plans, but if I'm also being honest, there were some things that weren't quite right in that relationship dynamic at that time. But you're young. You learn eventually. Anyway, no matter how much I tried with my efforts to move to New York with this person, it just never worked. Eventually, Los Angeles became an option for me. I did decide to open up my LA opportunity to this person. This person said yes. I'd found a 2-bedroom apartment because we were going to be roommates. We were really going to do this until we weren't. This friend bailed out on me and the opportunity at the last minute. Now, while this was quite disappointing at the time, there are no hard feelings. I actually got over it pretty quickly after, I would say a couple of months. But this person had a lot of demons that they were also dealing with and things that were holding them back from moving forward. That being said, one thing was very clear. That friend was not meant to go on that pivotal life journey with me. No matter how hard I tried, I had to learn that part of my journey was not a dual journey. It was not a community journey. This was a singular journey. If you try to force fit people into your life when they don't belong there, it could be disastrous. Shedding people, things, habits, life situations is a very normal part of this journey. Nature sheds all the time. A snake has to shed its skin often, 4 to 12 times a year. We humans, we shed millions of skin cells every single day too. So physical, spiritual, and emotional shedding is not weird or odd. It is necessary. It is part of the process. With a snake, a roomier skin layer is generated and the old layer is discarded. That shedding also helps remove harmful parasites. What that looks like for us as spiritual beings having a human experience is that anything that is holding us back, harmful beliefs, habits, people, have to be released. Now, prior to shedding, the snake's skin begins to turn bluish. Its eyes become opaque, hindering vision. Within a few days, the snake will rub or hit its head on something abrasive like a rock to tear open the outer layer. We also need a trigger to shed and slip out of what we don't need. For some people, that trigger is a breakup or job loss or a death. For me, my trigger was being abandoned at the last minute before moving to Los Angeles. I had 2 options. I could stay there in the comfort of what I knew, or I could march forward into the unknown, into my future. Here's the thing. On the other side of the shedding, the snake slithers on, moves forward. It doesn't go back to sniff and check and investigate what it left behind. The same applies to your journey. You transform and then you let go, you release, as you move forward. It was terrifying as hell, but I am who I am today because I left behind what needed to be left behind. I am who I am today because I leaped into that singular journey.
And why what she said it's so important for all of us, and specifically for our Duchess, because shedding that name Marco, who have been probably one of the most famous surname around the world, and she probably did not need to change that, at least for brand recognition. But when you think of what attached to that name, especially when it comes to her father, her sister, all those other, sort of brothers, have brothers and whatever, and what they have used that name for, and that kind of attachment, it's part of no matter how famous that and how well her name matched with that name and the name that she had come to know, a name that got her to where she's at. And I'm sure letting go that name must have not been easy, but she had to do that. She needed to let it go. And I think she has done that. And I think it's a wonderful thing to do because she will never, no longer, regardless, because every time they go out there, that they use that name, like the father or the sister or the other ones that's claiming in, and all of a sudden that, they want to go with that Marco thing. Do you understand what I mean? Because they know all of a sudden the first thing that you think about, it's Meghan Markle, because those two names always work together. But now no longer it will be Sussex. So in some ways, it's almost like, sort of, there's now no more association. Because there's a reason why the sister had changed her last name. Again, you know what I mean? She used to have, I don't know if it was her ex-husband or her husband. I don't know much about that woman. But she certainly quickly changed it back once, a Duchess, entered the royal family. And that association, and I truly believe that's why the media, they can't say too much, but they're still very upset because how do you link the two? How does this make sense to any listeners now when you are saying Meghan Sussex, which is linked into the royals? Do you understand what I mean? It's linked to the royal, to the Markles that who's making a mockery of themselves. Because up to this, moment that, it's very easy to tie her in because they've been trying for a very long time with the Markles, or have the Markles tie themselves to just to degrading her. But now, any really horrible thing or bring these people back on, it is going to be an effect to the royal family, especially when it comes to that name that was given by them, by the Queen, Sussex, which is they are entitled to use. And I think that they was not expect that. They don't know what to do. And it was strangely enough, right before we come on, I try to support anytime that Royal Sussex say go and support this channel, whatever, I try and I do that. And there is a content creator that I was listening, and then sort of from Sussex friendly channel, and she used a lot of content sort of what the media is and what they all been saying, and which not my really cup of tea, so to speak, because I truly listen to Royal Sussex and stay away from anything that, make you feel some kind of way, you know what I mean? Because to me, it doesn't make sense. And I don't know why I'm watching it, why I'm supposed to learn about it. It doesn't make any sense. So why am I going to waste my time? So sometimes I'll just look at the thumbnails and that's pretty much it, but never again. And unless I hear it from one of the channels that I support. And, she was playing this woman, a black woman, I believe that was very newly engaged with a ex-felon, that is should have no reason to ever speak ill about anybody. But she found herself somehow talking about someone, hating on someone that she should be inspired to. She should be looking up to. But what makes me even want to mention her or even talk about her is because she did something and say something that I feel like was very, very dangerous. She used the word and said, our Duchess, Meghan Sussex, hate England. To me, we need to push back and we need to she need to take that back because it's very dangerous. Because it's one thing that you say somebody doesn't want to come on, they don't want to go to England, they don't want to do this, they don't want that, whatever the case is, fine. But when you use the word hate, you are saying this woman hate English. It's everybody's in there. Everybody that was English, everybody, sort of, it's not just, and we know that is not the case. We know that's not true. She chose not to go in a place because you guys hold so much power and virtue and create a place where she doesn't feel safe to go. That doesn't mean
chose to leave.
That's right. That doesn't mean she hated there because she still supported there. You guys still making money. She, in fact, as I said again, look at the kingdom. They are following everything that she does. So to me, I think we need to find a way to push back and that she need to not just only apologize, because at the end of the day, she's a media person. And we need to hold these people accountable when they say things that could be very dangerous. Saying to, when someone hate your country, they hate you as well. Because that's where you're from. And so to me, is that, what? It's one thing that if she was just a troll in the internet, but this is someone that hold a position in the media that, people listening to. And that would be the only reason why that I would mention this at all. But really to get back to where we were at, because I digress. She is shedding so much. And we see she's doing something probably, even though it's something that, this is from her past, it's something that she's always known to do, but it's going back to something that's probably scared her. And to come out that joyful, that successful, it is incredible and it is inspiring. And because of that, that's where I choose my 2 words for today. And the first word...
Well, before you go to the words.
Yes.
Just because we did have a sighting.
Okay.
We saw Church Nellie, who is actually just hit 6 months. So congrats on 6 months.
Oh, my God.
In the insane asylum.
Is she back? Our girl is back?
She said, hello, Lady Sussex, Charles, and George, and Squatties. I'm out to dinner with friends. I'll catch the replay smooches. So, wonderful to hear.
Love you. Glad that you're well and enjoy dinner and have something for us.
We're not offended that your friends are more interesting. Just kidding.
Okay. All right. Yes. So I think that, it is inspired the 2 words because I think we need to find ourselves in a place to really look at the space as a joke. When you start arguing about food, there is a problem. When you start hating on food, there's a problem. When you start hating on beauty, you have a problem. And we need to understand that, and we need to shed ourselves from those people. But what we cannot do and shouldn't do and try to understand is the word that I choose for today, justify. So, Charles, how should I look at the word and understand this word justify?
Justified.
Mm-hmm.
So with justified, it was actually first used and coined in 1586 and actually is derived from Latin.
Okay.
So that first and foremost. There's really 3 fairly succinct definitions for it. So the first is having or shown to have a just, right, or reasonable basis. So a justified punishment, a justified reputation for toughness, these kinds of things. The second is an aligned and even at the margin. So basically, you have a justified text, which means it's spaced evenly across the page.
Mhm.
And that's actually this, more or less derived from the third here as well, which is basically made even by spacing lines of text. So again, it's just simply of equal measure. Is what that is. But the one that we're actually referring to is basically having or shown to have a just, right, or a reasonable basis.
Okay. So, Judge.
Yeah, I know we've had some intense conversations about this, just because it's a dynamic. It's one of those things that comes to life in lots of different ways. And so I did spend some time trying to dig into it to see what the people smarter than us are saying and how they think about it.
Right.
And there's some interesting things. So the first journal is actually, it's titled "The Need to Justify." It's by Patrick Wilson in The Monist, which is Reasons in Art Criticism, actually, published by the Oxford University Press. This is actually in 1966.
Shout out to Oxford.
And so it says, he writes, there appears to be no limit to the number and kind of things which someone, somewhere, might feel to be in need of justification. The existence of snakes and spiders, one's own existence, some or all of the things one does, some or all of the things one thinks and feels. The need for justification is a need to feel or to be able to show that a thing is somehow as it should be, right, proper, appropriate, or at least that it is all right, not blameworthy, unsuitable, or discreditable. The forms taken by the attempt to justify vary greatly, as the preceding list of adjectives begin to show, and the need to justify appears variously, at times a dull sense of unease or discomfort, at times as a conscious sense of obligation to produce good reasons for one what does, thinks, or feels. Perhaps the need for justification, like a need for yachts or applause, is something one would be better off without. Might not one be a Stoic or a Cynic philosopher on the topic of justification and advocate a life free from the burdens of the need to justify as more becoming to a free person?
Yes. And the reason why I wanted to look at this word and see the meaning of it and see what the scholars and people that are a lot smarter, than us, it's saying about this word is because it's a word that, we probably find ourselves, especially with women, and you have women, all women, and black women, and specifically, that we find ourselves constantly at odds, where we find our whole existence, we have to justify why, so to speak. And it's almost like, we cannot put anything together without, first thing that come in our head, how we going to justify the things that, we are doing. And I just feel like this is what is happening with, Megan Sussex, our Duchess. Because I feel like black women always put in a position to justify who they are, why they do what they do. And even though there's precedent for what she has done and doing, and really technically coming from a place of, who she is as a person, but the culture that she's a part of is food. This is how, many black households show their love, especially when you're talking about, the older generation, that who probably doesn't have a lot of money, but they will feed you. They will, show their love through their food. And this idea is that, we constantly justify to these people that who knows better. They know better. And if they don't know, they can research it. That is their job, to research on a topic. And here we are, very often and not, getting into this discussion, try to justify to these folks why she does what she does.
Yeah, and actually, before you keep going, because what you're talking about right now, there's actually, and it's a bit academic and it's a bit hard to follow. At least it was for me, but it's actually very interesting when you get a chance to think about it. Is the second journal for justify in terms of the word, And it's actually titled The Managed Thought, The Role of Self-Justification and Impression Management in Organizational Setting. It was published in 1986 by Jennifer Chatham and
Yes.
Barry Stahl
Yes.
of the University of California at Berkeley. And so they write of self-justification theory, that self-justification theory is an outgrowth and refinement of Festinger's classic work on cognitive dissonance. Dissonance, as defined by Festinger, is a motivational state aroused in individuals when two cognitive elements are inconsistent. Dissonance theory is very conceptually, it's broad, since cognitive elements can be interpreted as any knowledge, opinion, or belief about one's self and one's environment, and inconsistency among such elements can be implied by perceptual rather than factual or logical incongruity. The outcome of cognitive inconsistency is predicted to be tension or motivational, sort of a desire to do something, at least until you do the what they call cognitive work to lower the importance of cognitions that are discrepant. So the things that are out of things that are conflicting, how do you do something in your mind to make them not be such a problem, basically, in other words. Such cognitive works often produce attitude change. For example, if a person joins an organization to work at a dissatisfying job, the dissonance between their behavior, holding the job, and their attitude, the job's dissatisfaction, should be reduced by changing either the behavior, so either quitting the job, or the attitude, by discovering more positive aspects of the job. And because it's often easier to change attitudes than to change behavior, people may grow to just find new ways to feel differently about what they're doing. However, that's sort of a setup for it. But where it becomes interesting is they write a little bit further down. They say, from dissonance to self-justification. In an early review and interpretation of dissonance theory, Aronson in 1968 pointed out that dissonance appeared to occur only when individuals' self-concept was involved. In fact, Aronson argued that the tests of cognitive dissonance may have actually tapped threats to the self-concepts of individuals. I'll say that again. So he argued that the tests of the impact of these sort of times where there was this cognitive dissonance was tapping into these threats when it had to do with people's concepts of themselves. For example, when someone considers themselves to be an honest person or an intelligent person, such beliefs are likely to be threatened in typical cognitive dissonance events or experiments. A positive self-concept may therefore be an important boundary, blah, 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 go on, skip that. This is where then it gets very interesting in terms of what you're kind of driving at, Lady Sussex, is that Stahl has taken Aronson's argument a step further by proposing that most of the dissonance experiments have tapped a need for self-justification rather than a need for cognitive consistency. Individuals, he argued, may seek to justify their own actions, decisions, and attitudes in order to protect their self-concepts as rational decision makers.
Yep.
Thus, while dissonance-predicted effects are presumed to be motivated by a need for cognitive consistency, self-justification effects are assumed to be motivated by threats to one's ego or the way that you see yourself, your self-image. And then there's these sort of all these different behaviors that are produced. And so it's actually, when you think about it, kind of distilling that down, this sort of theory of self-justification is when there is this dissonance between what is real and sort of environmental circumstances, and it's a behavior to really protect yourself.
Yes, and I agree with the with the piece, but I just think that this is one of those words where it lost its meaning and it becomes something very simple and direct that is not that. I remember one time, because sometimes like when I'm speaking with someone and sort of I'm trying to explain some type of telling a story or explain something, where I will find myself sort of go around and around and around and around, sort of because I'm trying to find whatever the easiest word to use. And so one with the accent, and as well as being able to articulate what I'm trying to actually say, it takes me a very long time. So, and I remember a white person say to me, you don't need to justify to me about whatever subject that we were talking about. And I'm like, justify? What are you talking about? And the person said, well, you know, sort of it's something with black people feel the need to justify everything because, you know they are not to be believed. And my head was not there at all. And it literally changed me because I've never see it that way or understand it that way. For me, purposely, it was just that, you know what, it's hard to get straight to the point when I'm trying to find, the right word to actually say. It's not, and how to say it and how to be able to be heard. And so, and I started looking into that. And it's something that stays with me. And it's something that I try to change about me, when I'm in a situation having conversation because of that moment that I've experienced. And just the fact that, a white person say that to me and I see this is really truly what is happening. Because here we are, try to tell people how many times that the reason why she is doing the show is because this is something not only she's good at, this is something she's done before. And there's so many document and stuff for you to just go on YouTube. You don't need to even know her to see that, what, she just doing, something very simple as what she knows she have done, and really truly people were just sad to see the tea goes away. And here we are try to justify to those folks why she's doing the show, why she is not using her home, when we know there is many other people on the internet, on TV, that who have exactly the same show. It's not her, like they like to say, reinventing the wheel. And we find ourselves justifying constantly at those folks. And I think that, what, we need to be at a place where rather justifying and try to defend something that's easy to check is to asking, why do you have a problem with it? Because there's no reason for me to tell you something that, what, you easy able to find out, knowingly that, what, if you don't have problems with sort of, Gwyneth Paltrow, you don't have problem with that Lopez, whatever, that Hispanic girl, the one that we used to go out with.
Jennifer Lopez?
Not Jennifer Lopez. I got a very pretty girl. Well, anyway. There's many of them that was doing that show. We know just, Martha Stewart was legendary, sort of, with that. And the fact that, she used many people, sort of, recipe. I know someone personally that was, sort of, she had allegedly, I've heard that, took her, his recipe of some sort of thing and did not get credit for it, allegedly, sort of, and it was a very well-known chef, and the story is around and everything, whatever the case is. So people use a lot. I mean, we're talking about those chefs. They travel around the world, to learn about recipes, to learn, spices. And many of these countries, if not all of them, are countries of color people. So I don't really get is this idea that, you are confronting me, to sort of check me, and I need to explain to you why I am doing what I'm doing. Why do I have a show? Why do I have, sort of, I need to feed my kids? Why do I need to explain to you that, what, I need to protect myself because you guys not going to protect me? Why is that, what, we find ourselves constantly, especially when it comes to black women, but more broadly, women, and particularly, we have to justify why we qualify, why we can do the job, why we sort of, better on so many things. And I wonder if it's time for us to let go that baggage and just really asking somebody when they come at us with something like that and said, why shouldn't we? What is the problem? put it in the corner and force them to answer that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head, and I would just add to very quickly before responding is thank you to Bonnie Mighty and Miss September 15th for helping you think of who you were thinking of, which was Selena Gomez.
Yes, exactly. Thank you so much.
And also special thank you to Matilda Adeson-Loye and Joy Armour for the super stickers. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
But I think to what you're saying, Lady Sussex, that's where that last journal was interesting for me in terms of where the author was driving at, is just even understanding what is the initial sort of psychological drive for that justification in the first place. To your question of how do we get to the point where you just stop feeling the need to justify and instead ask the question back, like why do you have a problem? To get to that point, to understand the root cause that got us here in the first place. And it's that the fact that there's almost this environmental or circumstantial or systemic context that is creating either a state of tension, of conflict, or in which someone feels literally that their identity, their self-concept is in danger. That is the psychological state which produces that need of feeling, that need to justify oneself.
That's right.
And so if you think about that when you're talking about women or marginalized communities, that is, I mean, when you look at systemic issues in terms of how society operates today, that is, it just kind of makes sense that it leaves one in a position where you feel like you have to explain because the status quo actually threatens your self-conception.
And your education and everything and all that. And so to me, to see this brilliant mind that, our Dutchies have, the incredible, the smart, it's almost like, what we have to remind them or justify that, oh, don't forget that you're smart. Or like even as simple as recently, she happened to wear, sort of a sweatshirt, a school that she went to, because our late Princess Diana wore that same thing. Now we need to justify to these people, oh, well, do you know that, she went to that school and so therefore she have every right to wear that? It's not like they don't know that.
Well,
that.
Well, I think to your bigger point. So what? She wore a sweatshirt. She's allowed to wear whatever sweatshirt she wants.
Yeah,
she doesn't have to justify
I
it. To your point,
that.
She does not have to justify
but
it to anybody.
mentally, I think we've been, sort of, in some ways, oh God, I missed the word that I was going to say. It's almost like we've been programmed. That is a part of our lives, how we enter every situation, because it's almost like there is a force that is put out there that we are not to believe. And so therefore, we spend more time to prove ourselves, whether it's our education, spite of that, we see that, with the, our last, presidential,
Election.
You know what I mean? Where, she literally, and people had to constantly say, this woman, this is her resume. She did this, she did this, she did this. It's as if like she have never done that. And very recently, I've heard, something that was going around the internet, that someone very famous on TV was saying that, allegedly that, if he had went to have a surgery and then a black person show up, that, he will question.
Carson Daly, you're thinking.
I didn't want to say name.
Oh, sorry.
Also, that's not the name.
So, but anyway, allegedly, that's what he, sort of, had saying. And you started thinking that, what, my God, if there was anybody you're going to trust to actually sort of, take care of you, it's probably more likely to be a black person. Not because that, there's not incredible doctors that are out there, because it's such a hard field, to enter and be a part of. But it's even more so for anybody of color, whether you are Indian, whether you are black, to that kind of study, it's no joke. You understand what I mean? And it's almost you have to prove yourself, and you're constantly learning. It's part of that, your peers and everybody else have that same education. Perfect example, look at me right now. I could have been sitting down and relax, making, decent little amount of money and take care of myself and pay it. No, I think I can. But I find myself is that, you know what? I need to be in a place to be able to compete. I need to have all sort of degrees that, I may or may not need.
It's true. It's true, and it's one of those things where it is a core truth that manifests itself in so many different ways. Just to take an example from some of the parts of the work that we do is when you're looking at some of these new, incredibly smart people, scientists, engineers that are building the technologies of the future, and what they need to do to build their business is they need to convince investors that they know what they're talking about and that they can actually succeed in doing what they have outlined with their vision. And the feedback that you will hear consistently from investors across the board is always, can you actually tell me what you're going to do in a succinct way where you're not over-explaining yourself?
That's
in
right.
other words.
That's right.
And that is a key difference. That is, if you truly know what you're talking about, and if you truly know and you're confident, not just that you know, but that you are confident that you know, and the state of your mental being, then you can do that. You can express it very succinctly and you don't over-explain. And that's a very important nuance to think about when you talk about marginalized communities, where they're not just having to explain what they know, but they're at the same time having to protect their self-conception in an environment in which the status quo actually makes them feel threatened in terms of who they are, questions their very legitimacy.
There is many places, like for an example, if I'm going to go in to have a, surgery and you tell me you're going to cut one of my lambs, then I need you to justify to me, why do I need to cut it? There is places in time that, where it is important that, you ask a question and you make sure that you want to, but, for many of us, it's like just our whole existence need to justify. And I think this is what I've seen and taking note this week, seeing that, how she let go of what they're going to say, what they're going to do, that fear, that scared and whatever, even with the fire, everything that have happened that lead to Tuesday night. I feel like I get it. This is the part that, I no longer want to justify it. Myself, what I need to do to protect my kids, to survive and eat. You're going to do what you're going to do, and I got to do what I got to do, because otherwise it holds you back. And if, as I said again, if we are to, telling the truth about oneself, is that, many of us find ourselves constantly going into situations, the first thing that we think about, they're not going to believe me anyway. And we need to walk away from that. And we're going to play a clip. And that clip is to see this woman, this I don't know how you call, I don't know these days if you call those folk journalists or how to call them. But to be laughing. What is it that you're laughing about? What is the joke there? So let's play this clip.
Yep, I'm just getting it queued up. Hopefully it plays well.
From Essex, what's your view?
My view is I think it's unfair criticism, and I'm quite offended by all the laughing going on in the studio. I'm not sure what the laugh's about. Quite sarcastic, I think.
Well, the laugh, hold on, Sonia. We're laughing about making tea bags for the bath. When was the last time you sorted out a tea bag for your bath? I mean, that's just not day-to-day living for most of us.
But none of you have tried any of the recipes. I think it's beautifully done. And it's for people that really like Meghan. I think there's so much hatred towards this woman. It's just unbelievable.
It's not the hatred towards...
I find it astonishing. The vitriol levelled at Meghan is entirely disproportionate to who she is as a person. And, like she's not Vladimir Putin. She's just a mum from California who quite likes making her own bath salts. And I think it says far more about us and the state of the world than it does about Meghan, the way that people respond.
No, that's a fair comment.
I think people have spoken about, you know, how they dislike the programme, but I logged into my Netflix this morning and it was the 4th top show in the UK TV program in the UK. So people are watching it
of course they are.
and engaging with it. Some people are shocked about how she can cook and keep all the white outfit completely clean.
Especially the toddlers.
Can we also talk about, I think it's so soothing to my nervous system.
I know what you mean.
Compared to most of the stuff on Netflix, like the streamer's bread and butter is horrible true crime documentaries. Like, I could waste hours of my life on that streamer reminding myself of how awful the world is and all of the women who have been murdered terribly in all these documentaries. And I, for one, love a show that is just like, it's kind of like ASMR.
And, you know, laughing at what? Because, or this is funny, someone will want to have tea. So that says a lot about those folks. Maybe they don't know what self-care is. And I do believe that maybe there is a part of not knowing what self-care is that will make you do a job like that, you know, sort of, you know, hating someone on daily basis. Because you go to spa. Usually they do that. What, she never have like a bubble bath? Which you pour things and have a bubble bath and have a glass of wine and everything. Do you not relax? These people who are taking Botox, you know, sort of, you know, inject things into their skin. They're getting scrubbed. They're getting, you know, sort of laser. All the things that they do. And then you're laughing at sort of, you know, regiment that, you know what, esthetician use, any spa use. You're laughing. What is so funny about that? That just says a lot about you. Shame on those people. You know what I mean? That just says to me that you have absolutely no concept, and just because you don't do it or you find somehow that it's maybe ridiculous to you because you don't know how to care for yourself. There's many of us, you know, do actually do these kind of things. We scrub our face. I mean, we're talking about the beauty industry is billion, if not trillions of money. We all looking for whatever that next thing to look a little bit sort of, you know, like you know, black folks, so to speak, with, you know, beautiful skin and glossy skins and all that, you know, describing, they're going into the tan and they're doing all these things that, you know what, we do. And you think this is something that unheard of, that, you know, you will get like, you know, some essential oil, don't we use? Like, it's really, it's not just only silly, but you have to look at those folks and you're like, you know what? You have lost all kind of credibility and you just in a very different world. And why should I justify anything? Because obviously you should know, especially someone that was on television, you know, and you know, I'm looking at this woman that was aging and God knows probably try to do things to make sure she keep looking appealing. I don't know that for a fact, but I could see from the time that, you know, I've seen her to now, she looks completely very different. And I'm sure that she's doing some sort of something because TV sometimes it's not friendly, especially when it comes to women, to try to keep ourselves young, keep our skin. And obviously, if I were these folks, I will actually listen to our Duchess because every time that we see her out, we all try to figure out what the heck this woman put on her skin that looks so glowing and looks so good and so fresh and so clean. That is the kind of regimen. If that's what she's doing, I'm going to try that too. I mean, am I wrong, Sussex Squad? Am I wrong in my...
Jennifer Clark said you're spot on in what you're saying, Lady Sussex. So, and Ms. Bolas said that... Bolas World rather said Meghan was clear. The reason for the bag and the salt prevent the tea from clogging the drain. Thought it was brilliant. I mean, everyone's... Miss September 15 said, I used to think the Brits were smart, but Meghan's bath salts are no different than a bath bomb.
I know.
It's not even that crazy.
It's not when it's not crazy. That, you know, especially us women... we find ourselves spend tons of money. I mean, have you ever seen or know something that called Valentine's Days where we all try to do things we probably don't have time to do every day and get the bubble bath and oil? There used to be these, oh God, what's on some of those stores that you can go not just Bed Bath and Beyond when it was around, but there was another store where they have those oils and all those ingredient things that, you will go when you go in the mall that, you will find. I mean, it's like, this is not something none of these people, they don't know. And if they don't shame them, then that show, where they are, where, in their life.
That's it.
So should we go into our second clip before we go to our next word, or do you have more?
Well, that's up to you. If we're going to the next word or the next clip.
Let's do the next clip to enter to our next word.
I've watched nearly all the Megan Netflix episodes, and I keep seeing hate video after hate video, and a lot of it is projecting people's own, you can tell where they are in their own life. If it's, oh, I'm so glad that you have time to make sandwiches for your kids and cut out a rainbow platter, then clearly this person is bitter that they don't have enough time in their life. Or, wow, I'm so glad that you were able to rent out a house that isn't even yours and cook in this big, huge kitchen where somebody, prepared all these ingredients for you. And it's like, clearly you're upset about either like your living situation or that somebody has more money than you. Like, it's very much projecting. I took away from all of the episodes a lot of tips. I also took away from it that you can find joy in so many little things if you just stop letting the outside noise bother you so much. And that's something I really need to work on. So I think you take away from it where you are in life. I will say I think he's Korean. I think it's like Choi or Roy or something. That guy was super awesome. And then the founder of Tatcha, she made me cry. And I've never wanted to make pot stickers so bad in my life. So honestly, when somebody tells you how they feel about those episodes, just take that as them telling you how they feel about their own life.
Absolutely. Couldn't say it any better. And I think we need to now move into place. When we hear these folks who should know better, who should done their research, or at least even for ourselves, we need to push back and ask them, why do you feel this way? Why do you feel like she should not have this show? What the precedent? What is it that about it make you feel uncomfortable? And let's see how they answer that. Let's see how they answer that. Because I bet you they would not be able to. But as long as they could push us in a corner where we have to justify and reminding them of something that they should know. And if they don't know, then there's a problem. Then we need to have a conversation with their network. We need to have a conversation with your employer why you don't know what you should know. And so that lead me to our second word, joy. And joy, it's in a very interesting word for me because it's a word that, I should know and we should celebrate, and maybe perhaps that, many of us have sing about it or talk about it. But I also, again, feel like there is a sense that we have hard time showing our joy. And to see this word and, take center stage, driving by our Duchess, it's a word, to be honest, if don't kill me, Sussex Squad, I only think about this word during Christmas when you sing in Carol, Joy to the World.
Yeah, I see that.
Do you understand what I'm saying? And all of a sudden, that joy, for whatever the reason, I'm hearing it everywhere. You know how, when you have a car or certain, models of car that you never heard of, and you either buy it or family have it or you've been into it and all of a sudden you see it everywhere. That's what I feel with this word. The fact is that, now that Prince Charles is using the word joy. King Charles. Yes, I'm sorry. King Charles. Yes, King. Well, see, this is the problem is, I'm still waiting for him to be king. At least my concept and idea of what king is should be my wish and hope for King Charles. And hopefully he still have time to show up, because I think he had the goods to actually do it, but he need to find the strength and let this woman take a little bit more time from that woman, because he need to show himself. I believe he can. And so Joy, I just feel like the fact that, he's using that, the fact that I am seeing this word really right now with what's happening, we can find joy in the very little thing and think that's light like that, and how we should really find joy in everything, so to speak. Because I think very often for us, we overlooked at what God had created for all of us, the beauty, not just in humanity, in plant and flowers and season and everything else. There is beauty. So much for us to be joyful about, but we constantly feeling very oppressed and depressed and sort of not being able to show it. Or when we do have something to be happy about, like having a husband, like sort of her having, find her prince and be happy, being a mother, and somehow she's not allowed to show that joy. So I wanted to look into this word to find not only the meaning, what is it about this word that scares people so much or people feel offended by?
So joy was actually first used in the 13th century, so one of the older words that we've done, and it actually is also derived from Latin.
Uh-huh.
Yep. So the first definition is an emotion evoked from well-being, success, or good fortune, or by the prospect of possessing what one desires. Which I think sums it up fairly well.
That's right.
It also says the expression or exhibition of such emotion, like gaiety.
Uh-huh.
The second is actually a state of happiness or felicity.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm.
And third is a source or cause of delight.
Mm.
Which I think
and yet we are so scared of it. So go ahead.
It's a really fun word. There's a lot of different ways to go with this. And I got actually three different sort of journals, and I think you're going to appreciate them for different reasons, because actually two of them kind of pay homage to the fact that this is technically the Sussex Sunday Church service.
That's right.
Which you'll understand in a moment. The first one is actually titled "When There Is No Joy." So I'm trying to understand it from when it is not there. It's actually by Kevin Egan in what's called The Furrow, published February 2018. And I think you're gonna love this, especially Lady Sussex.
Yeah.
So Kevin writes that I confess to being reluctant to write or talk about joy. Recently, I was asked to give a lecture at the Autumn Conference of Priests by the Diocese of Ardagh and Clonmacnoise. I'm not sure how to say that, but it's Irish, so go with that.
Okay.
The theme of the conference was Give Me Joy in My Heart. I have been so struck by the fact that Pope Francis frequently makes reference to joy. I began my research by consulting his writings. I found my title in a phrase he used during an address to clergy, religious, and permanent deacons delivered at the Cathedral of Naples on March 21st, 2015. In his address, he used a phrase which set me to thinking, when there is no joy, something is wrong. I began to ask myself a series of questions. What might be wrong? What contributes to the absence of joy? What does Pope Francis mean by joy? I like to work from an interdisciplinary perspective, and so I asked myself, what have psychologists to say about joy? What is different about their understanding of joy and a theological understanding? George Valiant, a development psychologist, draws a distinction between joy and happiness. Happiness is far easier to talk about, whereas joy is difficult to talk about. It can feel too intense, too private. He describes joy as a primary emotion. It is spiritual and has greater depth than happiness. He notes that there is a world of difference between the joy experienced by the disciples after the ascension as they returned to Jerusalem full of joy, from Luke 24:52, and the happiness we feel flying home from a memorable holiday. Both joy and happiness are byproducts experienced by people who are aiming for something else. For this reason, there is a surprise element to them. Joy is not produced because others praise you. Joy emanates unbidden and unforced. Joy comes as a gift when you least expect it. While we cannot make them happen, joy and happiness are connected to certain actions or ways of being. For example, a well-lived life. The Greek philosophers recognized this when they invented a special kind of word to describe the experience, eudaimonia.
Eudaimonia.
Yeah, which translated means something like a life well lived. Christian theologians later understood this to mean a life of virtue. And then a little bit farther down, just skipping a couple pages, the author, just to wrap this up in terms of this source, he writes in terms of what contributes to joy. And he says, at this stage in our exploration, we have begun to see how an absence of joy is sometimes related to an imbalance in lifestyle. Obviously, a balanced lifestyle increases our chances of experiencing joy. Not unconnected to lifestyle is the living of a moral life. Daniel Gilbert, in his book Stumbling on Happiness, makes reference to the moral happiness. For the Greek philosophers, happiness is the reward of living a life of virtue. It is connected to living one's life in a proper, moral, deep, and meaningful way. For many, the living of a moral life is linked to a sense of duty. For people in the caring profession, I think it is also linked to a sense of calling. A calling is a sense that one is on earth for a reason, that one has a destiny no matter how great or how small. It gives rise to an intuition that life wants or asks something of us. The sense of a calling functions both as a sustaining and motivating force in our lives and can contribute greatly to a sense of inner joy.
It's so beautiful. I would love for you to read that part, starting back from,
from the Irish word I can't pronounce?
Correct. Because I think we need to pay attention to that. And the reason why this part of that piece is so important, we see sign of this. When Prince Harry talked about how he defined himself to service. And again, we hear it from the Duchess. Come to that term and understanding that, they have reached a place where they understand what they need to do and what their life it's going to consume. It's service. That's what makes this so really important, to find joy. That almost like, it's almost spiritual, so to speak. To go into that space, to almost realizing that, you have this hate campaign. You're a part of this, this world that I can't even describe it when it comes to the royal family and to the media, the power of the media, and to be able to come into a place to shed that skin and said, you know what? This is who I am. I'm going to be criticized. I'm going to be, in a place where it don't really matter what I do. They're going to have a problem with that. And I need to let go and focus on oneself, focus on myself, focus on what brings me joy, whether it means my friends, cooking, garden, birds, bees, husband, kids, just life. It is something, no wonder joy, it's a word that, you find in the Bible constantly or in places spiritual, because it takes a submission to God and trust and love to let go and said, it is what it is. And then I now going to not seeking for perfection, but seeking joy. And that joy was shared with all of us. And we feel it. I know I feel it. It's not because I have the garden that she have, not because that I have the clothes that she have, not because I even have the friend that she has. But this idea for 30 minutes, I feel like I am a part of this joy that she is sharing. Feel connected to it, but understand it. It's that same joy that I find every time that I come into this mic, knowing that, you know what, people may don't even understand what the heck I'm talking about, or even understand the accent, or even hear me, or whatever. I don't know what people hears when they are listening to me. I don't know what Royal Sussex find in me to trust me with this work and want to put his reputation in the line for someone that he never met, that he doesn't know. And that's talking about church. Something very often people tune off by. And here I am finding joy doing this when I'm living really a busy life. But there's something being here, having conversation with people that I don't know, but brought me so much joy. Or listening to Royal Sussex, having this experience is almost out of body. At least I know these people. There is something spiritual. And you can see it with the royals currently. Don't even understand. They are using the word. King Charles, honestly, needs some joy in his life this moment. He needs to reconnect with himself, to the work that he's doing, to the work that demand of him, to the work that, you know what, his country is expecting of him. And to a woman that, you know what, we've been told to call queen, and walking on the footstep of the legendary of Lady Diana, and we still don't know what that woman does, what she's about, you know, who she is. I'm still don't know, and I'm not being shady by no means. I just don't know who this woman is. It's almost like she tried to move away from the title we have come to know her, that she was introduced to us, the mistress. But like, okay, you know, hey, I'm not for her, wherever you start, you know, whatever the case is. But let me know where you're going. And to the new now Princess of Wales and Prince of Wales and whatever his name is, still try to find, I don't know what he's looking for, what he's seeking for, what he's searching for. They are copying everything. It's almost like, you know, they don't have time. There's not even a time to actually come up with something original. Something original. But following what someone else is doing, try to keep pace and not even doing it really well. There's nothing wrong of copying people. I mean, certainly we are here. We're talking about sort of, you know, replicating, you know, dish, you know, that, you know, our duchies have done. And if there's nothing wrong, but at least be cool about it, so to speak.
Authentic.
Be authentic about it. Give grace where grace needed. You know what I mean? Because now they're running again, chicken with that. How you say? I need
chicken
to
with
say?
Their head cut off.
Exactly. And you have people that were defending them, and that who's losing, you know, the fight of understanding how do you defend those people? You know, when you start talking about that, you know, how dare she, you know, using Sussex. Now you know, I mean, you know why she's using Sussex. She didn't make the rules. The royals make the rules. They change their surname all the time for whatever reason. To be honest, I don't know why, but they do. That is the thing that they do. I don't get it, but it is what it is. And you're supposed to be a part of this organization, and yet you're coming in and try to make people that see or feel that somehow there is something wrong with that. But really, truly, I feel deeply the problem is whatever it is that what they were doing, try to constantly using the name Marco and knowing who they like to bring on the tie of the two names, and now her letting that go, it's going to put them in a very weird place. Because the moment that you say Meghan Sussex, you're not just talking about her as an individual. You're talking about the title. You're talking about the name. You're talking about, the legendary Queen Elizabeth, because she was the one that gave that to them. Do you see? And so I hope these people, they find joy, because I looked at what is going on right now. I'm having trouble to see where the joy is for them.
There is a really good this to the idea of them everyone copying Harry and Meghan, whether it's the Waleses or even Charles or whatever it may be. To what you're saying, though, that Prince Harry and Princess Meghan have set a model and an example that everyone can benefit from if they pay attention to and learn what they did. Because when you look at this, the explanation of how do you find joy, it's not something you can just spontaneously create. It's not something you can decide to have. It is something that comes unbidden, unforced, based on living a balanced life, a life of virtue. In other places, it says it's also from the experience, a sense of gratitude, that joy springs from a grateful heart. That those are all of the things that Harry and Meghan have chosen to do. They've chosen to ensure, make priorities what matters to them so that they can have balance in their life, that they do live in a life of service for a higher purpose. They do each of those different things. And so they're able to find that joy. And so when you think about the Waleses or King Charles or whoever it might be, with that goal of don't copy the sort of the tactics, copy the idea behind it, which is the idea that if you live a life of virtue, even in the short term, there may be things that are challenging when you commit to living in the truth in a given circumstance that you're in. In the long term, you'll find happiness, you'll find joy.
I also think that living a life of living your truth, so to speak, and living the life that of understanding that, I am who I am. Having that understand for oneself and refuse to confine to what people tell you should be or you should do, or what was expecting to happen to you, lead to what we're seeing today. And it's something that we all can learn from.
Yeah. And I mean, it's really interesting, this idea of joy, because especially not just in the context of Harry and Meghan, but with that same sort of platform idea from the beginning that is bigger than Harry and Meghan. It is about living in a turbulent world that has a lot of challenges, has a lot of what would be otherwise seen as reason to be unhappy. This focus on joy is incredibly important, both in terms of what Meghan did and the conversation and thinking that it stimulates. The second journal is one that actually gets specifically at that. I think a lot of the Sussex Squad are going to love this specifically. I'm actually looking at you. I think it was Angela, just based on Angela Simmons, based on the comment that you just put in the chat as well, that you'll appreciate this. This source is actually titled "The Apostle of Joy" by Vincent Kearns in the Life of the Spirit, published in 1949 by the Cambridge University Press.
Uh-huh.
And so what Vincent writes, he says, that joy wrote G.K. Chesterton on the last page of Orthodoxy, is the gigantic secret of the Christian. One of the greatest possessors of this secret was that gentle and genial bishop, St. Francis de Sales. God is the God of joy, he wrote. The spirit of joy is the true spirit of devotion. Now, the worldly connotation of devotion is a dismal one, he writes. The opening chapters of the Introduction to the Devout Life were intended to dispel that erroneous opinion. The way of the soul to God should be one of joy. Indeed, it can only be one of joy. For sadness and melancholy are diametrically opposed to the happiness that comes from drawing near to God. I cannot conceive, Francis wrote to a saddened soul, how you can let your heart be filled with such deep sorrow, considering you are a child of God, entrusted to his loving kindness and consecrated to his love. There is nothing somber about the religion of St. Francis de Sales. As he once observed in a sermon, if you have a sorrowful face at the conclusion of your prayer, it is a clear sign that you have not prayed as you ought to have done. The soul, like the flower, must turn to the sunlight of joy, or else it withers and dies. The heart, like the flower, cannot open in the dark. So we find the saint laying down in the treatise of the love of God the principle that joy opens the heart and sadness shuts it.
Oh, what a powerful piece. It's everything that you know what we have saying. It's everything. I mean, if you looked at, if not all her quote, and I'm speaking of, our Duchess, it's that believed. It's that feeling really having a godly experience. I mean, you must really trust in the Lord to know that, who is this woman in the faces of this giant? It's nothing. So much so they believe that, they think that he could have done anything they want to her, and nothing is yet work. And one of the things very early on that, she said, that is resonating this moment based on this piece. The word, when she said that, your faith need to be bigger than your fear. I am now can really truly understanding that. That is huge, where you need to have faith. This power, what we call God, to wake up every day, do the thing that she does, taking care of her kids, living in the world where sort of like, if she questioned, even if it's her friend, is really her friend, or questioning, what did I do today? What is that they're going to say that I do today? I was watching a report where literally every article from the Daily Mail, it was about her, to a point that they feel like they were supposed to, maybe, I don't know, allegedly they realized that, it was so much Meghan, and they put something else to just, it was one article that really has, years ago, had absolutely nothing to do anything, because they feel like, I guess they had to put something. You have channels that just dedicate on bashing someone those people don't know, someone that who have said, okay, you don't want me, I'll go. And all she's doing is caring for her family, taking care of herself. And you guys just don't want her to be exist on this planet at all. What it feels like. And for her, what that must be like. The kind of faith and trust that you need to have each time you present yourself into the public. You're getting on your car. you speak or do anything. It doesn't really matter what she does. If they see her, they have a problem. If she doesn't come out, they have a problem. Where is she? That amount of sort of what that can do to someone. And you really have to have the faith to combat those fears. She would not be wrong to have those fears. Many of us have that fear for them, which is why we are out here defending them all the time. Because we understand what that can do to someone. I mean, it's not even happening to us. Many of time that, you know what, we are affecting, our mental health is being affected by this. And maybe perhaps sometimes we want to give up doing that and maybe question ourselves. But there is something that we connected. There's something so powerful that keep us here and actually doing what we're doing right now. Having that shared understanding. This is bigger than her. And if we allowed her, give these people a chance to get at her, her fate could be the same fate Princess Diana had. And we refuse to. We refuse to. I mean, again, I keep remember one of her last interview when she said, I have not begun squash the surface of what was done. What was that like? What was that like being in Canada and feel like being ambushed? And just call a friend and said, I need help. Or him says, you know what, hey, come in. And now you're going back, although this is where you're from, this is the place, but you're coming a different person. She is not a normal person anymore. She doesn't have a life that any of us probably will never or ever be able to relate to in some ways. But yet for her to use the word joy and to see that joy, to see how glowing she is, to see her in her elements, it is so inspiring. It's so inspiring. And that joy, I feel like this is what's been taken away for many of the media outlets. For them to actually even unable to celebrate something, I guess I would agree all of us have in common, is food. And many of those folks, they go to a restaurant. No restaurant that you go to don't try their best to decorate the plate to make it look appetizing. There is food like bananas that I was doing like some research and something about bananas where sort of like, you know what, a lot of it go into waste because people don't want to buy it. If it sort of have any black thing, it must be yellow because it's more, you know, sort of, you know, appetizing to, you know, sort of salmon that, you know, it's been said, I don't know, allegedly, that they put color in it just so it can look good. So this is what we do that. And those folks, I'm sure they've been to a restaurant. Maybe they don't have the time to actually, you know, self-care and take care of themselves or recognize that, you know, sort of, you know, or maybe perhaps don't have the kind of friends that, you know, Megan have to celebrate food, to celebrate something that, you know what, we all depend on to nourish our body. I mean, there is a reason why there is rituals in many places when you kill an animal that you thank the animal. And to try to bash something we all understand and relate to, that just showed the lack of joy. They cannot even find joy on that. Something that they start sort of, criticizing. They sit down, they watch the whole thing, and you come out of this, nothing. There's 8 episodes. These people don't understand how that make them look. 8 episode. Okay, you may don't like the first. I mean, if you speak the Sussex Joy, each of us have one that we favorite. You mean to tell me you sit down, you watch 8 episode. There's nothing in there that you feel like I like this. You never was going to like this when we didn't watch it for that. You have a problem seeing her happy. You have a problem because the world tells you that, somehow people that work on our skin, the only way that, you will give time to, it's when you see us with sort of flies in our face, or that we are getting kills. I mean, am I preaching here? What am I right? It's almost like, Beast Meat, a model, turned, lifestyle guru. I think she died now. I was, fortunate to have been, to see her, and went to her restaurant on 46th Street when she had it in the city. Beautiful woman. Have done that. And I believe it was before even Martha Stewart. Do you understand what I'm saying? Is that as though that, you don't have, how dare you to have a prince? How dare you to be able living that well? Because this idea that, somehow people assuming they know how black people live. But yet, all these fake people, many of them, we are the one that had fed them. We are the one that those aristocrat women couldn't be bothered to even breast their children. We had to do it. Lobster used to be something that they didn't think that was sophisticated enough, that was giving to the slave, and now it's a fabulous dish. And I could go on when it comes to that. The spice. There is no chef that I know who does not include it traveling the world if they want to get into a place and constantly learning, constantly being inspired by different dish. The joy of cooking, it's something that is really powerful because it nourishes us. The Bible tells us that God turned water to wine and create bread and sit down with a disciple and sort of sharing that what that mean. What is there for you to hate? I think we should go to our next clips. Or
before we do, we will just say thank you to both of the recent super stickers. We actually didn't get a chance to say thank you, Olivia Johnson, yet for your super sticker. Thank you so much, as well as to Connie and Julie, who added that Meg shows the power of merit over hereditary, which is hereditary privilege, which is dangerous. So she adds.
That's right. And as I said again, it was easy that we take that word for granted when they say that she is modernized the royal family. And we all thought that, okay, only if she was inside, maybe perhaps she would do it. But I really will go on the limb here and said she's actually doing it from the outside.
Exactly.
She's actually doing it outside because, again, you can't not look at, Prince of Wales and Princess of Wales and see what is happening where everything that, what seems like they are doing lately, it's a replica, a duplicate, try to keep up with the person who is not there anymore.
Yeah, Karen, I mean, you were talking about earlier in the Service Lady Sussex, and Karen Warder added it as well into the chat, saying that, like, my brother Prince Harry and Princess Meghan are changing and running the British monarchy and the British royal family from the outside. The royal family's copying everything they do. How powerful is that?
It is powerful. It is powerful. And I also will even dare say that, changing the media landscape. For many other people that have either been victimized by so many of those people, where people who sort of realizing the propaganda, it just could only go so far. It put them in a corner where people truly is now understanding and see who they truly really are and remove the power they probably once have. And I could be wrong about all this. It's just my assumption. I don't know that to be true. But what I could say is that, when people are making fun of the media about sort of, having an issue and problem with love making, what's to hate? And you cannot find joy and you look better and you look, Let's play the next clip, please.
So I might not be the traditional Netflix targeted demographic for Meghan Sussex show on Netflix, her series on Netflix, With Love, Meghan. And she is Sussex, as she reminded Mindy Kaling in episode 2. She is married to Henry. Is Henry? Is that his name? The hunky redhead guy. See, this is not my world. Anyway, her married name is Sussex. There were people have issues with that. She took her husband's last name. How is that controversial? But anyway, and it's a nice show. It's warm. It's very comforting. It's very familiar. She comes off as authentic. She comes off as very kind, and I believe her love language, as it goes, is making things with her hands and giving gifts. I think it's those two things, right? Like, what's this? Waldorf students, people, they head, heart, and hands is their motto. And she seems to be that. And so to me, she's very relatable. I'm very proud of her. I'm 60. My daughter's nowhere near her age. However, I love that Meghan, lived her life, found her success, found her prince, fought her way out of a toxic in-law situation, came back home to California, and now, you know what? Is living her life. I love that. And my mother went through something like that. And people who follow me on other platforms, that my mother died at age 39. She lived and survived years of abuse, and she got out. She lived her life. After that, she actualized some things. She traveled the world and all this kind of stuff. And then she passed at age 39 from cancer. She had a little window where she had a lot of happiness. And I love that Meghan found herself, grounded herself, and she is comfortable who she is. And it comes across in her show, and it's very sweet. I'm going to finish the series. And again, I don't know if I'm the targeted demographic, but in this crazy country that we live in, we need some distractions and some escapism. And so whether yours are superheroes, daytime soaps, the books you read or listen to, movies, going out or into movies, or whatever your quiet space is that gives you, like Marie Kondo used to say, sparks joy, do that. And Meghan is a calming presence, great background. Pay attention, don't pay attention. It's very calming, it's very lovely. It's giving that early Martha Stewart vibes. And I think I saw that it's number 10, and it's in the top 10 in 47 countries, which I can get. So despite what I believe, I have no proof of this, the paid operatives from that certain family across the pond that just spews so much negativity at her, like the negativity that Michelle Obama gets former Vice President Kamala Harris gets, that Beyonce gets, that, you know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to review her series more thoroughly in my this month's magazine that comes out in a few weeks, but I'm halfway through this series and I am enjoying it, and I'm very proud of Megan, and I think you enjoy it too.
Exactly. Now, this is someone that, probably not particularly, he doesn't really even know, similar to you guys. You guys don't really know too much about the royals, like that, instead of, coming and sit down here and talking to me, and you guys are learning a lot through me into the Sussex squad, but really sort of, this is not what you guys live consume. So this guy is the same. You understand what I mean? But yet, he is finding that joy to actually sit down and watch this. You see what I'm saying? And there's a word that really bothers me that is being thrown around. Oh, like when you watch a show, oh, it wasn't relatable. Who truly really watch a movie or anything where really you go into that, say, well, I'm going to watch this show, whatever that show is, because I want to be, relate to it in somewhat. Who goes into that? I think when it comes to being relatable, it is something that just accidentally happened, that you watching and listen to someone such as that, the Duchess, and you seeing her peeling bananas, all of a sudden, that was not something that we expect. But I've cooked many of those. And for those of us that would like fried plantain and, my Jamaican, squad that's on the line, or African and everything, whatever, all of a sudden that, wow, she knows how to cook that. Oh, wow, she knows how to peel that, one of the most difficult things to peel. If I'm correct, this is where the relatable come from. Or sort of that, a story as she tells stories about where she used to eat or something that have happened. To me, when we talk about relatable, watching a show or doing anything, I don't think that, any of us follow or go in somebody. We just like what we like, and there is something our spirit speak to us to. Like you looked at fashion. All of us love fashion, whether we can afford it or not. Many of us cannot afford and buy those $1 million clothes, but we looked at fashion as art, and there is something that it does to our spirit. And it brings us a sense of joy, so we're able to watch that. But there's nothing that relatable to many of us that cannot afford that. But if you hear a designer who perhaps maybe from, the more likely places that where he would not have achieved that kind of success, and he talks about how he made it, things that you probably never assuming that person been through. This is where that feeling of being relatable is. But I don't believe any one of us watch this show, included the same show that they are selling us this horribleness, that hatred. I suppose, again, maybe perhaps if you're a person that will love to hate, maybe I guess you quickly, find yourself relate to that person, because we are here to sell hate. But again, it's not until you open your mouth that you see where someone is coming from. And you may or may not. I don't believe any one of us watch the Marvel or watch romance or watch, many things that make us feel good or we inspired by is because we related to it. There's no way I can relate to what this woman been through the last 5-8 years. I don't know anyone that, really can survive this, what she just surviving. and having your whole entire, your father, being a girl, you depend on, if you lucky enough to have a dad to protect you at all time, at all costs, was the first one to turn against you. To your sister, you would expect that to cheer you on. Turn against you, pretty much sells you. To marry into the most famous family that filled with histories, filled of guillotines and everything else that we have come to know, that they could just get rid of you just like this. We know the history of this family. And we have come to know the history of some of the media, especially the royal rulers. So to be able to not only survive that, but thrive.
Yeah, but actually on that note, as a contribution from a co-host, one of those things I know you ladies Essex never like to shy away from hard topics, even when you do want to be talking about joy. There's also what's always in the background is from Connie and Julie. You said, I don't want to be a wet blanket, but I believe Meghan is in real danger because the smear war is losing. So now they're going to ramp it up. It's textbook mafia tactics. The royal family is very dangerous, in my opinion.
Absolutely. That is my belief, and that's continue to be my belief. I think what makes me feel good, I know that she's not a stupid woman. And I know Harry, who very often, I think he says, I know what's behind the curtain, knows that. But I know as a family, they had to come to terms and said, we could, hiding, not going to help us. Doing nothing, not going to help us. Not doing what we love, not going to help us. Because these people don't really care. They will find you some way or shape or form, because they were hiding whatever they were at in Canada. Somehow they find them. They went to a friend, they find them. They go out, they find them. They don't go out, they want to know. Like, you have to come into that place to submit to your faith in God and understand we need to live our lives. We need to enjoy the time that not only we have with each other, but with our son and daughters. Yeah. And I think it was a model creating by the late Princess of Wales. Very often that I wonder that time that, she spent loving her children, doing the thing that she does for both sons. And it's a shame the other one, I don't know what happened to him, but the impact that she have on Harry, the reality of it all. But I want to believe that, the work that she has done, that lasting footprint in humanity, it's forever. We'll know about, we'll talk about, whether it's my mother generation, the next generation, before after my mother, to my generation, and to new generation that learning and knowing what that woman have done, the impact she have in the world. And I do believe this is where the Sussexes are. They are at that moment where we need to shed all of it and come to a place of joy. And joy for us is our family, is our charity work. And we see Prince Harry talk about it. And we see Princess May, like they are so in sync with each other. And I think for us as supporters, we not really feel it, But we need to understand that, Joy. We need to understand how we deal moving forward with those people that, you know what, where we find ourselves constantly justify things to them that, you know, we shouldn't. Even though there's times that, you know, you feel like, you know, hey, just because of ears that may hear it, you got to fight back. You got to sort of, you know, not letting them get away with things. But in many occasions, I think it's better if we ask the question, why do you have a problem with it? Put them in the corner. Ask them, have you never have a bath? Have you never washed? Oh. What's wrong? Maybe you need a rest. Oh. We need to ask them these questions. Are you not happy? Are you in a toxic relationship? What make you not understand what is going? What make you not understand that love? What is it about their love that scares you so much? I think this is the place where we need to be, in my opinion.
Yes. And in addition to what Benjamin Padilla added in terms of us curating our words, because words have power, and that we have, in many ways, are a part of the shield for Harry and Meghan, which is very true. With that, so the squad more broadly, more so than what we're talking about right now, just the Sussex squad generally. But a funny thing, and then a question that we received for Charles and me before we maybe go into the next clips, which is one thing from Bonnie Mighty, which is pretty funny, is that the UK media wouldn't be relatable to any food with seasonings and flavors, which is pretty funny.
Yes.
And we were asked by Ann Hall in terms of how we felt about the show, what we liked from it. So I'll speak for myself before passing it to you, Charles. But I think two things. One is that conversation that you had mentioned actually earlier, Lady Sussex, specifically in terms of the wisdom of thinking about things that as being broken as not being a problem, but as being part of the growth into what true beauty is and what we're meant to be, that it's this journey and that things that are perfect are actually not beautiful, and that it is the series of how things break and are either remedied or left as they are that actually truly make them beautiful, was really resonant for me, just thinking about where we are in the world today, what's going on and everything. So I think that, like, even not just in the sort of the very high level lifestyle, food and happiness kind of things, that even the philosophical nature of some of the conversations was awesome from the show. And I have to say, in terms of we've talked about this on the show quite a bit, and Lady Sussex and Charles can attest to the fact that I am a massive foodie.
And you're going to create all those dishes because we already talked about it. Yes.
Exactly. So I'm going to definitely make all of those foods, and I'm probably going to start with the donuts.
We'll take pictures.
I'm going to start with the donuts.
Oh, that's right. You love. Actually, both of you love donuts. I'm scared of donuts. But yes, Charles.
You like donuts.
I do love donuts, but I'm scared of it, which is why I don't eat it.
Yeah. You'll get on them if they're made.
You know,
if they're around, you'll get them, but you won't buy them.
One, like, if it's what's the name of the donuts?
Krispy Kreme.
Krispy Kreme, yes.
Yeah. So, for myself, one, I am not necessarily a foodie, so I do not do a lot of cooking.
You are not?
I do not do a lot of cooking. No.
Yes, okay, that's probably the better.
Yes. Well, no, that's my definition of foodie. My definition of foodie is that you're really involved in like the aspect of like making and creating food.
Yes, but you make a mean lasagna.
I'm just a glutton where I like to eat food. It's just a different thing. But yeah, I think for the show, for what I kind of took away from it is just honestly calm.
Mm-hmm.
Just calm.
I know.
Because this world is crazy. We have had, speaking for George and myself, have had incredible manic weeks on end. And it's just nice that she's, it's just nice to come in and like, it's kind of a refuge of like, okay, we're doing this. It's a beautiful space. she's talking and she has wonderful guests that she's on her show that are interesting and entertaining, and that's what it is. It's just a place where I can kind of meditate out and be like, okay, well, this is great. And that's honestly what I need.
That is so true, because very recently, I mean, we are people. I mean, obviously you guys don't know us, but we deal with a lot of information. We constantly doing research, and it's like a nonstop 24/7. And sometimes our mind just, at least for me, let me speak for myself, it feel like exhausted that there's so much information, and try to turn your mind off from this research that we are doing and learning and study, and it's a lot, and it's sometimes you find like you cannot shut your brain out at all. Like I could read something maybe a week or two ago, and then out of nowhere that comes in my mind, and I went back to find more. Like it's a constant battle, So I think that is the reason why that I love sort of being a part of the Sussex Squad, where I could actually, the only place where I can feel like I go and completely not thinking, about much, and just being in the moment and having these discussions. Do you understand what I mean? It's like there's no reason why we should be producing a show today knowingly the kind of week and probably night we're going to have, and just locked in and doing, what we do, which is research and debate and, having discussion. And sometimes, and I could tell you guys, it get heated. It literally get heated. Try to sort of, have these discussions about, smart people, smart things that we probably have no reason. It's like, how the heck we get here? But this is our lives. Because we are seeking this, I guess, education, so to speak. But we need that escape. So I think let's play the next clip.
On to our next clip? Okay.
Because I think it's very important.
Let's do it.
Well, some of you need to get a grip when it comes to this woman. You need to get a grip. With Love Meghan is a perfectly fine show. There is nothing groundbreaking about it. There's nothing horrible about it. But the way that you guys are going through hoops to try and act like she is some evil mastermind with a show like this blows my mind. It's getting weird. It's getting weird. Oh my God, she's not even filming in her own home. She's so fake. Have you ever seen a cooking show before? Has a cooking show ever not been in a soundstage? Also, just like, let's use this for a second. Let's just zoom out. Safety, like, why would she film in her own home? I feel like people are being so willfully obtuse because they just don't like her. And if you don't like her, that is absolutely fine. There's no need to just stan someone like this or to be a fan of a celebrity. You never have to do this. But it's so weird to see people actively hate in this way. We have seen so many people make the exact same content. And what's crazy is that Meghan is not new to this. She's true to this. She has been doing this. She was doing this on the set of Suits. Like, lifestyle is her thing. You may not enjoy her, but to act like she is specifically being like evil or scary or all these things, like everything you're saying, the call's coming from inside the house. The way people are talking about her. It's weird. It's really weird. And I think seeing some posts, looking in some comment section, I really want people to just like take a beat and take a breath. Just don't watch. You really don't have to watch. But if you want, again, a show that's just gonna give you some tips about how to hang out with your friends, about how to just entertain, about how to host, about how to make a fun snack, you're in for a treat. That's about all it is. Really.
Exactly. Exactly. It's getting really weird. I think they have lost the plot, so to speak. And we don't know how to interpreted this. Because even in our garden, like, I believe she wrote a book on, I believe she did a lifestyle or something that, and it was filmed at her home. And one of her issues that she had is that her septic tank was in trouble after filming, to a point where she completely stopped filming in order for them to get her to film, from what I understand, allegedly that, they literally had to build her a studio, a sound stage that, who looks like her home, because her messed up. I believe she even said that, she don't know how her husband didn't divorce her. I mean, I don't even understand why we need to even justify. I mean, security reason, even if it was just not about your septic, who wants to have somebody, people in your home, sort of whatever you're filming will probably go on into your drawer or whatever the case is. And yes, you want to trust, the people that were there and everything, but you don't know.
Yeah.
Why would you want to do that? You have kids. And again, it's not like a Duchess address anybody. Why would she want to do that? And I think during the filming, I feel like, it was, I think, I don't know that for sure, because she talks so much about her garden and she seems to be, was very familiar, to these spaces. I think that, a lot of those, maybe that garden was belonged to her. It seems like there was this two things. It may be true, maybe not be, I don't know. Or unless whoever that owned this house have the same taste and have the same sort of, enjoyment with food and garden and things like that, whatever. It just looking really weird. This is where we are. King Charles is now, it's telling us his playlist. This is where we are right now. That Princess of Wales, it's whatever the baking that she was doing, and she got jam. Okay? And she was giving it for free. Okay? This is where we are. Seriously, people. It looks weird. How do we see it? Or is it time for them to completely be honest? Based on the next clip, which I agree with this content creator, is it time for them to be completely honest? Because we know what this is. We know what's going on. And I think if they're honest about it, it'll be okay. Okay, we got you. You're racist. You don't want to see, a black woman doing really well because you're not accustomed of seeing one doing so well. You're jealous and envy because society told you only us can live that way. Only us can marry a prince. Prince was only made for us, as though we have not run, kingdom before. Or we don't know what being a king or queen is. Does these people study at all with this story? Because many of those people, they call themselves historian. I mean, if you don't know too much about different countries and continent like Africa and everything, at least you know about Egypt. Can we start there? Can we start with the great kingdom that, sort of, rich kingdom of black and brown people? Like, what are we talking about here? Okay, they didn't teach you that in your history book, or they didn't tell you about it, and somehow that, please just say that. Just say, I'm not accustomed of seeing that, and I have a problem with it. And we'll feel sorry, we'll feel pity, we'll say, well, now you know. and we can move on. Save yourself the problem, the embarrassment, the headache. It's okay to tell the truth. Like they say, the truth will set you free. So let's go on to our next clip.
One last thing from the co-host before we go to the next clip, which is funny. I know you'll appreciate it as well. As Connie and Julie said, I'm willing to show my squatty cred by cooking pasta Megan's way. This is an Italian no-no. No cooking spaghetti before. Not cooking spaghetti before putting it in a dish will be a first for me. To which Arrington W. responded, Connie and Julie, LOL, thank you for being adventurous for the experience. Your Italian cred will always be respected. How fun to know you and I are thousands of miles away and are experiencing similar joy.
Oh, that is so wonderful. That's so wonderful, especially coming with the spring and summer. And I mean, obviously, I try to sort of give you guys a little of piece of who I am as a person. And both of you guys can testify to this, is that I find joy and happiness if I'm entertaining, seeing people happy. One part of entertaining is looking at people enjoying themselves. Not so much me even be a part of it. I literally could just sit down watching people enjoying themselves. And somehow that makes me happy. So let's go to the next one.
Turtle. I would respect you if you just came out and said, you know what? I don't want to see Black women living a life of leisure. I actually don't want to see that. I don't want to see Black women cooking and enjoying their life, being a stay-at-home parent, really pouring themselves into their family. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. I want to see Black pain. That's what I want. The only women that I want to see live a life of luxury is white women. That's what I would like to see. Say that. Instead of masking it as something else. Because y'all are saying that Meghan Markle is so out of touch. What about fucking Martha Stewart? Okay? We going through a damn recession and all this other shit. She was out there selling towels, had cooking shows, and the world was crumbling right behind her. And I didn't hear none of these fucking think pieces about nothing that her ass was doing. Okay? That's how I know it ain't got shit to do with that. It has nothing to do with her being out of touch. There are also people saying, well, she's too perfect and she she had the perfect opportunity to be regular. She's not regular like you, bitch. Okay? She is not regular. This is something for you to view and aspire to. Relatable is not it, baby. Not for you.
I couldn't agree more. Very often you talk about, she's using the world name. Well, she married into the world. She would forever attached with them. She have kids. What are we talking about? This woman paid for her wedding, from what we understand, allegedly paid for her dress. She cared for Harry and make him stop wearing, shoes that was just coming apart. You guys put her where the maids in the servant quarters. She worked hard to not have to do that. And yet she did accept to do that, to be a team player. One of the things that the story that they told when Oprah come and visit them and said, they're not going to believe it. And when we see what that was, I mean, not that there would be nothing wrong with that if that was the place that they are in their lives. We all start somewhere, and whether it's a shoebox, whether it's a studio, whether it's whatever, there's nothing wrong with anywhere anyone lives. But for what they try to make it be or say, or knowing how hard this woman worked, that was not what we expected. When we hear that, the other royals, they live on 14, 16 bedrooms in whatever apartment big, and they have 4, 5 room, and then they put them in a what feels like, really? And then they give them where the servant, okay, they make it home. They do the best. They spend their money. The money that they had give them, it's money they was going to spend anyway. And on top of it all, they make them pay for it back. But they get to stay with the work that's already done, that they was going to have to do anyway. They take the so-called gift back. And now she's living her true life, her best life, being a part of a community where maybe perhaps she feels safe to bring her children, and you guys have a problem, you guys not paying her bills. What is the problem? You guys tell her, go. And she did. You say, give me the money back. Did they forget that? Did they think that we don't remember those things? You guys asked for money back that really, truly, she did not owe, because, again, the work that they pay for, it's a work that was going to be done anyway. And they had to reimburse that and more, I think, allegedly. And now they are doing their thing, surviving, and you guys still have a problem. She comes out, you guys have a problem. You guys try to sell us that, you know what, she have like, living in a mansion with 14 bathroom, whatever the amount of bathroom. But you're not talking about the amount of rooms the royals occupy while there is people on the streets. Does not make any sense to me. She pays for that. It should not be your business how she chooses to live, but you make it your business. So truly, really, you need to tell us, what is the problem? What do you have a problem with? Because you're not paying the bills. You don't have to watch the show. You don't have to waste your time and spend time to watch it. You don't even have to support and do anything. You're either a fan or you truly sort of, I guess they call that stalker.
I think maybe it was Benjamin Padilla earlier saying that they are fans. They're invested. They're twisted, but they're fans.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I do think that, you know what, we need to have a different set of eyes on what is actually going on. Where these two couple, one person in particularly, that woman, it's mentioned and speak about as though she was the head of state. She is on every conversation. In order to mention any of the other royal, they must somehow find a way to attach their name to it. So is it time for us to say, unofficially, they are king and queen of this, that country, that island? They're truly modernizing the royal family, making them doing things that we know we'll never dream to hear that they're doing, that they will do. Causing with people, try to take selfie with people. I thought they didn't, world don't take a selfie. They don't hug. Hanging out a little bit too close with the peasant. Listening to black music. There is something going on. There is something going on. And truly, the only story that is selling, spite of the hatred, it seems like it's Harry and Meghan, the Duke of Duchess. Like, I don't hear anything about any of the royals. I literally forget that there are other members of that family. So I think we need to stop justifying anything to these people. Maybe perhaps this is where I'll leave it if we don't have any more clip.
The only other thing I'm going to put up while you close out while you start the closeout of the service is actually something that Susie Q, and actually maybe one other person had mentioned earlier in the chat, but that Susie Q said Princess Meghan just posted on Instagram cutting flowers, showing flowers are blooming, so she's unbothered about those haters. So go like it on Instagram and support Meghan, but we'll also put it on the screen while we're here.
Amen. 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 That's what we need. You know, it is what I have been saying. Through that darkness, there will be light. And I think the reminder for all of us, the renewal that we see that happening every 6 months or 7, 8 months, the changing of season, the beauty and the snow, whether you like it or not, the dying leaves on the ground, the beauty on that. To look at the shape of the trees without leaves on and wondering, how did that even possible? And then comes spring, where everything flourishes. And those flowers that makes us so happy, makes us so joyful. To me, it was a reminder how we should be not just only grateful, appreciating, and caring for what we put in our mouth, and how we need to, our relationship with food for so many of us. How we need to see it. And more so, this idea that, you know, we all want to believe that, you know what, friends like this exist. They become family. And if you don't have it, you're inspired to have it. The meaning of friendship. To me, that was my takeaway of the show. To have that support system, how important that it is, and celebrate those who are in your lives and not taking them for granted. That was my takeaway. Because life is short. And I say this all the time. My best friend, who there's nowhere in the world a young person so young can be no longer be here. And we had dreams. We talked very often how we were going to take the world, the things that we were going to do. Just being silly kids running around and somehow think that, you know what, we were something special. And when he diagnosed us with cancer, and again was stage 1, well, of course, in stage 1, you're going to come out with that. That's going to be fine. At no time it ever entertained, happened in my mind that he would not have been there. Here no more. But he's not. And what's left, and what I left with, is those special moments that we spend together. Whether it's kind of like, eating bagels, or sort of, sneaking out with a 10 o'clock curfew that I have at 9 o'clock, sitting down in the bench of Central Park and talking about silliness, going to take dance classes, or him coming to always have like, sort of, 1 minute that, what, we're supposed to be doing this diet together, and the next minute he come with this big pizza and try to tell me why this pizza is better or why this shake is better. All those moments that it's, sort of stays with me. And I cherish that moment. I even cherish my moment with him when he called me. He said, I need you to be here right now. And not knowing that was going to be the last time I'm going to see him alive. And I did. And we talk, we pray. And that was the last time we seen each other. This show reminded me never to take friendship, a loved one that are dear to us, for granted. Certainly not taking this community for granted. And that's what this show, I think my takeaway from the show. So, Charles or George, unless you have anything to share, or we should move on to, verse, because we have a long night ahead of us, and that is included. At some point, I will escape from what I have to do to listen to Royal Sussex because that won't be my breathing room with my cup of tea.
Sounds good. So, for verse, I found one that I liked. It's actually regarding joy, and it's James chapter 1, verses 2 and 3. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. And I figure, given the trials and tribulations that we ourselves are facing every day, and what Megan and Harry do as well, that it's a nice verse to remind us what we get, and that joy can be found anywhere, especially through some of the trials.
Absolutely, absolutely. And not taking anything that we have or we had an opportunity to be a part of for granted, and how we could find a beauty, or we can create that beauty. We can create that moment for ourselves and for everybody around us. Judge.
Yes, and I'll add an additional verse and a prayer, just again on that thing of joy, just because of how important it is. And a co-host actually contributed this verse earlier. It's sort of reiterating that same one. It's Psalm 35. It says, for his anger lasts only a moment, but his favor lasts a lifetime. Weeping may stay for the night, but rejoicing comes in the morning. Amen. And it says, Dear God, we ask for joy in our lives. Help us to find happiness in the simple things and to share our joy with others. Let our laughter and smiles be contagious, spreading positivity wherever we go. May we find joy even in the midst of challenges. Thank you for the moments of joy that brighten our days. Help us to cherish them and to seek out more opportunities for happiness. May we find joy in our relationships, celebrating the connections we have with family and friends. Help us to recognize the beauty and wonder in the world around us, finding joy in nature and the everyday miracles of life. Guide us to be sources of joy for others, bringing light and happiness into their lives. Let us approach each day with a joyful heart, grateful for the opportunities and experiences that come our way. Thank you for the gift of joy. Help us to embrace it fully and to spread it generously to those around us.
Amen. And I am extending my prayer for the Royals family, and the fact that King Charles, if indeed he finds joy that he talks about by listening to Black musicians, Black artists, Black music, maybe, just maybe, that joy will have him understand the need to reconnect with his son and to not letting time pass him, that to know and his grandkids. If indeed it is the truth, because music translate to everyone. And yes, there is certain things, joy and happiness, there is something that happened to our body when we hear a music that we like. It doesn't matter who you are. And I hope that joy that he talks about, leading by example of Princess Meghan, that is something that he will hold true to do the work that his people, again, continues waiting for him to do. And this is my prayer. It's my prayer to be, it's okay if you want to duplicate, you want to do that, but find that solemn, find that peace, find that joy, just accepting it. That you have someone that do it better than you. And it's okay. The time comes where the whole notion about, I'm first, is no more. It just doesn't work. It's time to start embracing the beauty that is Meghan Sussex and everything she brought to the table that probably in some way make these people still relevant because we are talking about them. Because I don't know how often you hear anyone talk about the royals. And to me, very often we hear that, how is that, she's doing that because she want to be attached to the royal. I think the royals are very happy to attach to her. Because she's the only person that they are talking about. And that make them look somewhat relevant, even though they all bring absolutely nothing onto the table. So if it is true, King Charles find this joy that he talks about, and I hope he does something with it. And I pray for our mental health. I pray for this moment. I pray for season 2 that is coming, and hopefully we'll have a Christmas special. I pray for their health, for the Duke and the Duchess and their children. I pray for, the Queen of Queen Dolia to be a center, their center, and everyone's around them. And I pray for this community, again, who continue support and love, not just supporting the Sussexes, but supporting each other. So I pray we continue having this joy and remind ourselves where things may seem broken, we could still find a beauty in it. So I'll leave you here. So may God bless you all. Take care of your mental health. Keep sending that joy. Keep talking about it. Keep asking questions. Because this is the power of God. The Spirit lives in all of us. We just need to pay attention. Love wins always. May God bless you all. May God willing, we'll be with each other again next week. Let's give praise and joy to the Lord. Good night.